Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the BC Buckets. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. Today, Colin, we have a couple international European big men here that are very, very different, but I'm excited to talk about them. One is in my first round, for sure.
One is in your first round. I
For
think. Well, I guess I don't know. I can't get a read on you this year.
I,
Um,
both are very interesting, though. So we have Bogoljub Markovic. He goes by Bogi. I've read a couple places, but Bogoljub Markovic, he plays for Mega out of Serbia. Obviously, Mega is the main team that a vast majority of very good Serbian prospects play for. We had Nikola Topic last year, Nikola Jurisic, Nikola Jovic. They have all played for Mega. And then we have Joan Beringer from France, who played for Olympica, another 6'11" player there. Markovic is a shooter, kind of perimeter guy. Beringer is an interior guy, like an athletic big. Do you have a preference between these two?
I think it's tough because when you watch both of them, they're obviously so different. Like when you talk about Markovic, he's a shooter. He's a lot more skilled. He can do a lot more things on the basketball court right now. But then you look at a guy like Beringer, and he's almost like he's very raw, and he basically gives you nothing offensively, but he's very intriguing defensively and athletically. And you almost kind of wonder, like, what can that kind of turn into a little bit? So for me, you mentioned you had one of them in your first round. I actually might have one of them in my first round, and that might be Beringer.
Hmm.
Um,
I
and
expected to come in here and say you were high on Markovic.
no, not at all. I'm tired of these Europeans playing for Mega, especially, and then not doing anything in the league. No, I think when you watch both of them, like I think Markovic is what he is. Like he can shoot. Obviously, like I mean, I like his shot. He
It
loves the
is a
top of the key
pretty
three.
shot.
It is a wet shot. It's crazy too because his free throw percentage isn't like insane or anything, but
Yeah.
it's a good shot. He can do some things in transition. He's skilled enough to make some passes. So, I mean, I like him as a player overall, but I don't really know how much more he has upside wise. Whereas I look at a guy like Beringer, and he reminds me of Yves Missy from last year.
I thought the
And
same exact thing. That's actually one of my
and
comps
that's my comp as well.
to continue.
Um, and you're just kind of intrigued a little bit. And for some reason, I'm higher on him than I was Yves last year. I think it's just because maybe I don't know, maybe the
I think we
European
learned
bias.
from Yves last year. Like
But I mean,
the
even watching him
floor,
though, I feel like it was a little bit more. To me, it was more impressive with the minutes that I saw, and maybe that's just because he played more. I don't know. I have the numbers from last year.
no, I mean he played. I have 57 games, 18 minutes per game, 5 points, 5 boards. Basically no assists and very
Mhm.
little turnovers. 1.4 blocks, 62.5% from the field, 57% from the free throw line. I do think we learned a little bit from Yves Missy because I think there is like you watch them and it is tangible, like what you're seeing in terms of the vertical athleticism. And
Mhm.
I don't think I gave Missy enough credit for the floor that he had. We were just like a run jump guy, not the biggest. Like Beringer is bigger than Missy was as well.
Mhm.
Not can't shoot, so on and so forth. But I actually think the floor for those players is higher than I used to give them credit for because, like Missy, you can just get on the court and that energy that you have and the defense translates immediately. And I think Beringer is the one that I have in my first round now, albeit I think I don't know, it's gonna end up being in the 27 range. I don't know, I have him 25 right now. So pretty high. But it is because of the defense. He had 8% block percentage, which is very, very good. The rebounding, 22% on defensive rebounding percentage, very, very good. The lob threat is very real, and he's really young, like 18
Yeah.
and a half years old. So I
Yeah.
I buy a lot of Berenger's upside, but then also, like I said, the motor, the defense, I think actually gives him a pretty good floor, a foundation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you mentioned already, like you think of last year, and we didn't really give guys like this credit when they're all over the league in terms of what they can give.
Yeah.
Like you just want a guy that can defend and get rebounds and basically dunk the ball. And when you get a guy that's just young, like you already mentioned, who he's not hitting threes. He didn't even attempt a three last year, but he had a couple of mid-range shots, that went in. Like, what does that end up turning into, if anything? But point is he's young enough to develop. And he's only played the game since 2021. So like
Yeah.
super raw. It's incredible that he's where he's at right now after just picking a basketball, basically. Whereas Markovic, again, I just don't see the upside. Like I don't see what else he could be than what he already is.
Yeah, Markovic is frustrating to watch at times, but it's not. Again, I could see someone just turning on highlight tape and being like, "Hey, let's just take this guy. If we have the 32nd pick or something, like,
Yeah.
early second round, just take a flyer on him." And I'm not even saying not to do that, honestly, because he'll probably end up being in my, 35 range, 35, 40 range, something like that. So, like, I'm not even mad at taking a swing at him in that respect. My problem with Markovic is the defense was infuriating to watch. He had 0.9 blocks per game while playing almost 30 minutes per game at 6'11", and I went and watched. Mega came over and played against G League United, who had some good G League players, and it wasn't like the top G League players, but I watched that game. He didn't have a single block. He had 4 turnovers. He's 1 of 3 from 3. He had like 16 points though, because he got a lot of cuts and stuff. So he didn't play badly. But if you looked at the box score, it's like, oh, he had 16 points. But like, I was waiting for him to block a shot or affect a shot in any way. And these G League dudes were just scoring right over him time
Yeah.
after time after time. And also, I didn't watch this, but I went and read about it at a few outlets, and then also Sam Vecini's draft guide yesterday. I read it like at Hoop Summit because he was invited to Hoop Summit, which is a really big deal. But in the practices, apparently they were finishing right over him. Like there's no rim protection here, and I just have no faith that the defense will ever be like a good enough level to play the 5, especially the 5.
Definitely
But then
not the
it's
5.
like,
Yeah.
is he playing the 4? I that's my huge problem with him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a little bit higher on the defense than I think you are, but I think just like you have to play him for the 4 just because one, he's not strong enough. It doesn't look strong enough, at
Yeah,
least in the
he's not.
competitions you're kind of playing against. And so you do kind of get that what's his role going to be on the court. And defensively, it obviously can't be guarding the 5 because the NBA will just chew him up. And then offensively, even too, like he's such a perimeter focused player. And like he has back to the basket moments in the league that he's in, but none of
Mhm.
that's going to happen to me at the next level. And then you could even say the same thing about his playmaking. Like there's some plays that he makes where like, oh, that's a pretty good pass, but that window is not happening in the NBA. Or when he's in transition, it looks pretty good, but he takes like his strides aren't long. He takes very small steps. The handle it looks a little loose, but it just works where he's at right now. So a lot of his game, I think, at the next level is going to be taken away to where he is relegated to that. I'm only going to shoot threes, which is kind of already where he's at right now.
Yeah.
Even in his current league. But then you're also taking away the playmaking possibilities. He's not going to play the 5 at the next level. You already mentioned defensively, and on the perimeter, how are you going to guard, 4s and then wings that play the 4 as well. So
Do you
it's just
have
hard to project for me with him.
how much higher, or like how do you compare him to like Maxime Reynaud for Stanford? Like, because both of them obviously can shoot the ball at a high level. I have Reynaud, I think, significantly higher than Markovic. Not significantly, a little higher, reasonably higher than Markovic. I just think there's a little bit more meat on the bone with Maxime on
I
both
think it
ends.
comes down for me just to age. I mean, I'm not really high on Reno at all, either. So
Okay,
I
yeah.
think it's just a range thing. Like Markovic is going to turn 20 basically after he gets drafted. Reno's 22. So I mean, to me, they're
Fair,
kind of the same player already.
fair.
In 2 years, I don't see why Markovic can't do what Reno's doing already. So for me, it's just like, yeah, again, you like I said with Reno, you have a big that looks pretty fluid, looks like he can handle the ball maybe a little bit, excuse
Yeah.
me, and can shoot the 3. And yeah, I don't know. It's just not something I'm really
Okay.
into or
So
looking for.
I'm higher on Reno than you are. I couldn't remember
Yeah,
where you had him.
yeah.
And yeah, so I'm gonna end up having, like I said, Beringer somewhere in like 25 range for me, which feels high. I went and looked at the consensus board for the first time. I hadn't previously looked at it, and apparently consensus has him 24. So apparently I'm on par with that. I didn't know that was
Yeah.
how high people had him. But again, the motor, the youth, I think there's a real ability on offense to be like a screen and roller. Like he rolls really well to the basket. And so I have no problem betting on Beringer being at the very least a rotation big here. For comps, we already
Oh,
starting with Beringer. We already said Yves Massey. I put question mark Jalen Duren
for
for
Beringer?
Beringer. I just want to throw it at you and see what you did. Honestly, I just as a Pistons fan.
I think Beringer is more athletic than Duren is. I think the size comp is there and like kind of the way they play, I guess, right now.
Duren, I'll say
But
Duren out
Duren's
of
not as much as a
college.
vertical athlete.
Duren was stronger though out of college. Like
That's
that
true.
wasn't really even close. Duren
That's
was
true.
like built, and he is built. But like Beringer needs to fill out, which is again he's 18, so it's hard to really project what he's going to be in 2 years. But like that's the difference. I agree. Beringer may be a little more vertical, but Duren was strong,
Yeah,
real
very
strong. So
strong.
that was just a comp I thought of, and I was like,
That's
well, in
that's an interesting
3,
comp. I kind of see that.
and
I
it took
kind of see
Duren a
like that's the
bit.
player to morph into because Duren was really good this year. So
And it took Duren a bit to get going in the
Mhm.
NBA. Like, it wasn't like he came in immediately was terrific. So,
Right.
yeah, I could see it being a few years. But, yeah, there's a secondary upside comp for you.
Yeah.
Markovic.
Markovic, I had a tough time just because it's hard to find his role. So I just went with
Yes.
Lauri Markkanen type guy. I mean that's obviously like obvious the play style Lauri Markkanen, not Lauri
Yes, the
Markkanen
play style.
himself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's not at all the ceiling for me. I think in terms of role or ceiling, I think the most he could be is like a floor stretching 4.
Yeah.
So you throw him on there and he sits in the corner. I almost put like someone like John Lawyer, even though he
Yeah.
couldn't really hit threes, or like a Ryan Anderson, but I wasn't sure if the defense was that bad, like Ryan Anderson. And I also think that maybe he has a little bit more feel for the game than those two do. But
Yeah.
just that type of player, right? Like not overly physical on the inside, but isn't able to be a wing on the
Yeah.
outside. So
I
that
think
type of
that's
player.
fair. I have Spurs fans will know this one's Sandro Mamukelashvili. Shout out to Mamu out there. Spurs fans will know. And then I have Chris Boucher,
Mm,
formerly of the Raptors, and again like a 6'11" guy that shoot the ball and not do too much else on the court. So those are my 2 comps. I think that speaks to kind of where we have him overall,
yeah,
or where I have him. Kind of,
yeah,
he'll be in that 33 to 35 range probably when it's all said and done. So we'll see. All right, that's all we got. Hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Let us know what y'all think down below, and we will talk to y'all later.